All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. News.
All right, just get your seatbelt, okay? Because you gotta buckle up for this one. Buckle up, because this story's insane. And I don't like hype anything up the way I'm hyping this up because it deserves to be hyped, okay?
There you go.
All right. A newly elected Republican congressman is a liar. I know, it's not breaking news, except this guy takes it to a whole new level. And the big failure here is really the New York Times. What do I mean by that? Okay.
Drums.
This is a story that should have been, I don't know, published during his campaign, Maybe a little bit of an investigation during his campaign. But no, the New York Times just published this story about, again, a newly elected Republican congressman from Long Island. And it turns out that he has lied about everything. His name is George Santos. And when I say lied about everything, I mean everything in his resume. He is the son of Brazilian immigrants, that we know is true, and the first openly gay Republican, we don't know if that's true, to win a House seat as a non-incumbent. By his account, he catapulted himself from a New York City public college to become a seasoned Wall Street financier and investor with a family-owned real estate portfolio of 13 properties and an animal rescue charity that saved more than 2,500 dogs and cats. Wow. That is quite a resume.
And it is awfully specific. It wasn't 2,600 cats and dogs or 2,400, it was 2,500.
Now, the New York Times investigated these claims after he got elected, of course, and found that, wow, there's a lot of inconsistencies here. Looks like he might be lying about a lot of this stuff.
No.
Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, the marquee Wall Street firms on Santos's campaign biography, had no record of him ever working there. Officials at Broush College, which Santos has said he graduated from in 2010, could find no record of anyone matching his name and date of birth graduating that year. It gets even crazier, okay? But how are we learning about this now?
Well, I can tell you how. I ran for office at the congressional level, as this guy did. And that led to two seemingly contradicting conclusions, but there's a reason for it. So number one, local races get no coverage at all. So you could make up anything and nobody in the press will bother investigating, no one will call you out on it. But there's a catch, and this is the contradictory part. So that's if you appear to be an insider, a moderate, a corporate Republican or a Democrat. If you are an outsider, then they will have all the time in the world to investigate everything about you, okay? And even find microscopic things that you did and deleted 15 years ago, just so they could say, aha, goddamn outsider, okay? Look at the thing that he deleted 17 and a half years ago, and that's why you should never elect him now.
No, but there's a lot of truth to what he's saying. So take Cenk out of it for a second and consider the fact that this guy actually ran for Congress back in 2020.
Same time I did.
But back in 2020, he presented himself as like this diehard Trump loyalist. He did not present himself as a moderate. This time around though, he did present himself as a moderate. So look, I'm partly joking about him being openly gay and saying, I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know what his sexual orientation is or whatever. But I say that because now I'm wondering, did he just say that to appear moderate?
Yeah, if you say gay Republican to a mainstream media guy, they'll be like, oh, that's perfect. Moderate Republican, love it. Right?
Right.
So, and this guy is obviously a pathological liar. So we don't know what's true and what's not true anymore, including whether he's gay or not.
Right. I mean, so when he ran again the second time, he scrubbed his website of any Trump love and all of that stuff. So anyway, now let's get to some of his other lies. He also claimed that he went to NYU, no record of that whatsoever. He lied about that, Jesus Christ. There's also no record of his animal rescue group, Friends of Pets United. So it's a charity, right? So it should have some sort of filing with the IRS. The New York Times looked into it, no filing with the IRS whatsoever. But he did hold a fundraiser, get a load of this, in New Jersey with the New Jersey Animal Rescue Group back in 2017. And as part of the fundraiser, the cost of entry to this big event was $50. And he claimed that the money was gonna go to a specific organization, okay?
FOPU?
No, we don't know because the organization spoke to the New York Times. They wanted to be anonymous because they're afraid of retaliation, but they're like, we didn't receive any funds.
Of course, I'm kidding around about FOPU.
I don't know what that is.
Friends of Pets United. It sounds like something you name your dog. Come here, FOPU. Come here. Okay, all of it is made up.
No, it gets crazier though. It gets so crazy. He said in an interview on WNYC that his company, which he did not identify, lost 4 employees at the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando in June of 2016.
Gosh, what an outrageous lie.
But a Times review of news coverage and obituaries found that none of the 49 victims appear to have worked at the various firms named in his biography.
Of course.
Oh my God. And by the way, like, where did he get his money from? Because he did loan money to his own campaign. So there's something going on. His financial disclosure forms suggest a life of some wealth. He lent his campaign more than $700,000 during the midterm election, has donated thousands of dollars to other candidates in the last 2 years, and reported a $750,000 salary and over $1 million in dividends from his company, the Devolder organization. So what is the Devolder organization?
Things that devolve?
Well, this candidate, or I should say now congressman, has devolved quite quickly, right? Now, his firm is shrouded in mystery. There's a lot we don't know about it. And on a campaign website, he described Devolder as his family's firm that managed $80 million in assets. On his congressional financial disclosure, he described it as a capital introduction consulting company.
Sure, of course.
A type of boutique firm that serves as a liaison between investment funds and deep-pocketed investors. But Santos's disclosures did not reveal any clients, an omission 3 election law experts said could be problematic if such clients exist. What? So we don't even know what religion he is because he's been inconsistent on that. So he has described himself as a non-practicing Jewish person, but at the same time has also said that he's Catholic. He also claimed that he made his family's fortune through real estate. However, he has not disclosed any record of his properties. So remember, he's like, I got 13 properties. But okay, well, all right, well, where's the documentation for that? There's some chance that he lied about his resume to seem more moderate, as we mentioned before. And new revelations uncovered by the Times, including the omission of key information on Mr. Santos's personal financial disclosures and criminal charges for check fraud in Brazil, have the potential to create ethical and possibly legal challenges once he takes office. So back in 2008, when he was 19 years old, he had decided to steal a checkbook from a man that his mother was actually caring for, and then use that checkbook to make all sorts of fraudulent purchases. Police and court records show that Santos used the checkbook to make those fraudulent purchases. He got arrested for that, but he also, 2 years later, he also confessed to the crime and was later charged. He also faced eviction 2 times, once in 2015 and another time in 2017. In May of 2017, Santos faced another eviction case from a rent-stabilized apartment in Sunnyside, Queens. Santos's landlord accused him of owing more than $10,000 in rent, stretching over 5 months, and said in court records that one of his tenants' checks had bounced. A warrant of eviction was issued, and Santos was fined $12,208 in a civil judgment. But guess what? After that happened, he decided to campaign on behalf of landlords and against tenants. So here's a tweet to give you an example. He wrote, "Will we landlords ever be able to take back possession of our property? My family and I nearing a 1-year anniversary of not receiving rent on 13 properties. The state is collecting their tax, yet we get zero help from the government. We worked hard to acquire these assets."
Did you? Did you?
Insane.
So I got to give him credit. That's method acting. He's really like living the role. He's like in his head, he does have the 13 properties. As I was going through this story, I thought to myself, there's only 2 possibilities for where he got the money. One is family. His family left him some decent chunk of money, but they're not doing any, private financing or hedge funds or private equity or none of that stuff, right? Some family member left him a chunk of change, right? And this goofball is playing around with it. Or
there's scamming going on.
Yeah, or he stole it, right? Those are the only two options, right? And so maybe there's a magical third option, but I don't look like it. And so it looks like it's the scams rather than the family. But it also reminded me of a story from my personal life. We once met this guy who was going to get married to a family friend's daughter. And he had gone to NYU, he said, for undergrad for business school. I was like, oh, that's what I asked, okay? I had gone to undergrad for business school. Then he applied for law school and I applied for law school. And he got into Harvard. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And my dad and I asked him, what'd you get on the LSATs, right? Because we were super curious and we're at a family dinner. And then he gave us a number.
That made no sense.
That didn't exist, okay? It was above the maximum.
Man,
it was above the maximum. Now, but.
Look, we live in a society where people do not do their due diligence, okay? And I'm gonna call you out. You have never checked to see whether or not I actually graduated from Cal State Northridge.
That's true, I haven't.
Maybe I lied about going to a Cal State school. Maybe I lied.
On the other hand, a former employer of mine did do their due diligence. He didn't believe where I went to school that he said, if you show me a transcript from Columbia and Wharton, I'll just give you the job, okay? And I showed it to him the next day and he gave me the job. Okay.
Man, that is not nice. That he thought that, that's not nice at all.
I know, he assumed that I was a scam artist. See, there's a guy doing due diligence. Anyway, back to the other family friend. We told the family that was involved, we said, look, this is super awkward, but we think that don't get married to this guy. We think he might be a pathological liar. There is no such score in the LSATs, right? And of course they didn't want to hear it, so they ignored us. Which the reason I bring that up to you guys now is because that's the Republican voters. You tell them, look, these guys are obviously lying to you, right? And the Republican voters go, don't care. I don't care. Yeah, was it not obvious that Trump is a pathological liar? They don't care. They want him to lie.
But let's just be clear. In the case of Trump, you're right. But in the case of the Santos guy, you're wrong because literally no one knew what a pathological liar allegedly this guy was until the New York Times decided after the midterm elections to investigate this.
Now look, so credit where credit is due and discredit as well. But so number one, you're right. To be fair to the Republican voters, they haven't had a chance to vote yet since they have found out the news that he's lied about everything. Are you sure he's not gonna get reelected? Are you really sure? Okay, and then number two is credit to the New York Times that at least they did it afterwards. I mean, at least somebody turned them on to the story and they bothered to do an actual investigation. Should they have done it earlier? Of course, but back to my race for one last comment, LA Times reporter talking to me, different times, but he's covering a fake scandal. They're gonna write a huge story about it to try to hurt my chances of winning, but mainly Bernie Sanders' chances of winning, because that's when they care. That's when they want to do investigative journalism, right? And find out nonsense. But I say to him at the end of the interview that he did with me, are you guys ever gonna cover the policies involved in this race? And he said, honestly, and I give him credit for being honest. He said, no, we'll probably never write a story about that.
Well,
and it's true, they didn't.
The proof is in the pudding.
The LA Times in a congressional district in LA chose to write no articles about policy or anything else of substance. And that's why guys like this think, hey, if I want to lie on a massive record-breaking scale, where would I go? I'd go into politics, where there's nothing but liars and the media barely ever checks.
Now he denies that he's lying. I want to be fair and give you his statement because after the New York Times published this, his office released a statement. George Santos represents the kind of progress that the left is so threatened by. Bro, I didn't even know who you were until today.
Yeah, so threatened by Santos, the Jewish Catholic real estate dude.
A gay, Latino, first generation American and Republican who won a Biden district in overwhelming fashion by showing everyday voters that there is a better option than the broken promises and failed policies of the Democratic Party. You can read the rest for yourselves. I would like to see him actually respond to all of the inconsistencies that the New York Times has exposed in their piece.
Yeah, show us FOPU. Where's FOPU? Where's Friends of Pets United? And I'll end with a comment from one of our members, YouTube member Dirt Flyer wrote in, Santos would fit in perfectly in Congress.
That's true.
And to be fair, that is an excellent point. In fact, it's such a good point. $100 gift card from Blue Apron. Email rewards@tyt.com. They'll confirm who you are, and you'll get free food for contributing to the show. We love our members. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.